Kamala Harris just sat down for an interview on Fox News and it was an utter calamity. I took copious notes and let's just say joy has left the building. What became abundantly clear in this interview is that Kamala Harris, because she's never been pressed before, the second you press her on anything, she crumbles. She cracks and crumbles like a fortune cookie that's been run over by an 18-wheeler. Shattered. Right from the beginning, she was asked about immigration, which is her least favorite subject because she's overseen the worst immigration crisis in American history. She immediately tries to blame Donald Trump for the crisis at the border, but Bret Baier, he says, no, you guys rolled back all of those executive measures like Remain in Mexico that were keeping the crisis under control. Kamala continues to talk about this amnesty bill she was pushing her first day in office. That was a bill that would have given citizenship to 11 million migrants. In 2021, Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, they had the House, the Senate, and the White House. She is lying when she says Donald Trump is responsible for the crisis at the border. Another key moment is that for the first time ever, Kamala Harris was asked, when did you know Joe Biden was in cognitive decline? You would think she has an answer rehearsed for this, but she says, well, Biden's not on the ballot. Trump's on the ballot. Biden's not on the ballot. Yes, sweetheart, we know that. That's why you're sitting here. Kamala, maybe you stopped at Chili's on the way to the interview for a couple of margaritas, but we understand Joe Biden is no longer on the ballot because you, Nancy Pelosi, and other Democrats shanked him and threw him out like the trash. Throughout the interview, when Kamala Harris does not have answers for Bret Baier's question, she says, well, Donald Trump, he's unstable. Donald Trump is a threat to democracy. Well, guess what? Donald Trump is beating you in many of these polls. She really got hit with the reverse Uno card, whatcha? Because if Donald Trump is so terrible, why are you not beating him by a landslide? She was also asked in the interview about turning the page. We're gonna turn a new page. This is a new way forward. And Bret was like, haven't you been around for the last 4 years? What are we turning the page from? She really tried to say, we're turning the page from Donald Trump. Kamala, you have... Kamala was also asked in the interview about comments she made back in 2019 about paying for transgender people to have surgeries in prison. Every time she was asked about her record, she would say, I'm going to follow the law. I will follow the law. Why don't you have an answer for why you have flip-flopped on so many policies in such a short time span? Now, the most egregious part of this interview is actually what happened off camera, and we found out afterward that Kamala Harris, she showed up late, they tried to whittle it down to 20 minutes, and then she had 4 staffers waving their arms frantically, trying to shut it down. Now, like I always say, I'm not owned by the RNC or the DNC. The only thing I'm beholden to is the truth. And the truth is, if Kamala Harris cannot handle a tough interview with substantive questions, how is she going to take on Vladimir Putin, Kim Jong-un, and other world leaders? Kamala Harris talks about her record as a DA, as an attorney general, and she says she's this great attorney. I would rather have Elle Woods from Legally Blonde represent me in court than Kamala Harris. The way Kamala Harris was so unprepared for this interview speaks to my thesis that Kamala does not like to do hard work. The only way to get her to work is to leave a trail of margaritas into the Oval Office like Hansel and Gretel. What really cracks me up is that Kamala Harris talks about all these things she wants to pass when she gets into office. Well, number 1, why haven't you done it the last 4 years? Number 2, I don't even think Kamala could pass a breathalyzer test. Now, we still have many questions Kamala Harris has not answered for. What about the allegations against her husband, Doug Emhoff? From the things I've read and the allegations against her husband, I want to know, does Kamala Harris have to wear a hockey mask on date night? These are pretty damning allegations against Doug Emhoff. Something else no one has asked Kamala Harris about is that a few weeks ago, she was talking about doing price capping on groceries, eggs, milk, you name it. I want to know what happened to that. Is that still a policy she's pushing for? Another moment that really stuck out to me from the interview is that Kamala Harris was talking about Donald Trump and she said, you are responsible for your administration. Well, Kamala Harris, you just gave them the best attack ad they could have ever asked for. Following Kamala Harris's logic, if they're responsible for their administration, then you are responsible for yours. In conclusion, I imagine whoever scheduled this interview is probably being fired, and Kamala, they're definitely gonna have to restock the mini fridge in her hotel room tonight. All right, thanks for liking and following. Drop a comment. Tell me how you feel about Kamala Harris, Donald Trump. We are 19 days out from the election. I will see you on the next one. Bye.